Americans are struggling to pay off their debt. This week, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York released new data giving an insight on Americans' financials. It found overall debt levels increased to a record-breaking $18 trillion a year. Our chief business correspondent, Taylor Young, joining us now. Taylor, not only are Americans taking on more debt, but many are also falling behind on their payments, only making matters worse.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about missing payments on pretty big things like mortgages, credit cards, and the biggest one is car loans. So, I mean, this is creating a really scary reality for a lot of Americans who are really just one emergency away from being in a really tough spot. Now, the New York Fed researchers found the share of households becoming seriously delinquent on their auto loans and credit cards are at a 14-year high. Now, let's focus on the car issue because economists find that trend to be the most alarming here. And that's because Americans need their cars in order to get to work. So this tends to be one of the highest priorities when paying bills. Now, when a large amount of people start missing these payments, you know they are seriously struggling. Last year, car delinquencies were up 23% compared to the year prior. Industry experts believe this spike is due to rapidly rising car prices coupled with high interest rates. And we know that, being delinquent on your car payments can lead to your car being repossessed. And not only does that leave you carless, unable to get to work, but it also impacts your credit score, which makes the ability of borrowing money for a new car even more difficult.
And it's one of those things where things just getting worse and worse and worse as you continue down there. One of the things that we know about debt, Taylor, is that it causes a lot of stress, right? We know it's like one of the number one things to break up couples. So what impact is this having on everyday people?
Yeah, I mean, debt is not just a financial issue, right? It also causes a lot of mental health stress. I mean, according to WalletHub, 1 in 3 Americans say that their debt is impacting their mental health. And I think a big part of that is the fact that 25% of Americans right now are worried that their stress is going to impact their children. So just the long-term implications of this is a lot to kind of handle for a family. And you mentioned, financial stress can also cause issues in relationships. It's one of the leading causes of divorce. And unfortunately, 1 in 5 Americans right now that are dealing with a boatload of debt believe the problem is only going to get worse over the next 12 months.
Okay, so here's the thing that we love about Taylor. She's not going to be all doom and gloom. There are signs of hope on the horizon, right? It's Valentine's Day. We got to give somebody something happy, right?
And I think the number one is we have to remember that this data is from December of last year. This was a time in a period where a lot of Americans were spending money, putting money on their credit card for gifts, for holidays, for travel. So that is definitely a factor in this. And also, while we are seeing household debt increase over the last couple of years, we've also seen wages rapidly increase. So that in and of itself is going to kind of alleviate some of this pressure. And on top of that, we have also been seeing interest rates rapidly declining. And considering if you compare it to the peak in 2023, so that also is going to make just the borrowing power better for Americans, maybe these monthly payments more affordable. So yeah, there's definitely a silver lining here, a light at the end of the tunnel, but I do think the reality right now is the majority of Americans are struggling with their debt.
I mean, if it makes anybody feel better, you're not alone.
You're not alone.
A lot of Americans are dealing with it, but again, light at the end of the tunnel. Taylor, thank you.